Hey everybody, welcome back to today's algebra edition, solving quadratics using graphs and tables. So all we're simply trying to do is determine where does this quadratic line cross the x-axis. And if so, that's an x-intercept. But we also have other names for it. The other names we have is solutions, roots, and zeros. So there's 4 words that mean the same thing. Okay, we can also, so that's from a graph. We can also tell what it is from a table. So in other words, if I were to type it into a table, in other words, this is the equation, here's the table. I just want to know when this is 0, when this side over here, this column is 0. And when that side is 0, these are my x-intercepts, or my roots, or my zeros, okay? And so we write it a couple of different ways. One way that we can write it, we'll write it as a solution set. And what a solution set is, -5, -2. You just write a set with little brackets, not parentheses. It's not an ordered pair, okay? Or we'll write it this way. X is equal to -5 and x equals -2. All right, so we're just simply trying to determine where is this happening at. All right, so looking at the next problem. All right, so I have an equation. It tells me this. If I type it in, I got x squared plus 2x minus 3, okay? And I want to know when this function is equal to 0. In other words, if I turn it to a table, where does this line and my quadratic cross? Now, the most obvious, hopefully you can see, it shows right there and right there. That is the same thing as this and this. So my solution set if I were to write it as a solution set, would be -3 and +1. All right? Or I could write it as x equals -3 and x equals 1. Okay, now over here I have a table. So how can I identify this from the table? Well, I know that at -2, it's going to go with -3. -1 is going to go with -4. And then -3 again. And then I have 0 and 5. Now, I do need to know what's happening at -3. So let me type -3 in here, and that tells me it's at 0. And so that helps me because on the table it shows -3, 0. And also on the graph I show crossing at -3. And then also at 1, 0 on this table, and then also at 1, 0 on the graph. All right, so a couple more problems. That's how you find this, how you determine. Let's take a look at another one. I want to know when does this line, so let's use this line now. I have 2x squared minus 4x plus 3. And it looks like, if I were to just sketch this, it doesn't even cross. Wait, so what if I turn it to a table and I find these points over here, like -2? Oh, that goes with 19. That's not 0. -1 goes with 9. That's not 0. 3, 1, 3. None of those are zeros. Let's type in -3 right here. That's 33. Well, what if it doesn't cross? It's okay. Not every quadratic has to cross the x-axis. And if you get a quadratic that doesn't cross the x-axis, then the solution to the quadratic is no real solution because it doesn't cross. All right, now we want to find the negative solution for when this is equal to 0, the negative solution. All right, and we're going to sketch the graph. We're going to fill in the table. So let's do this. First thing we'll do, get rid of this, start over. X squared minus 2x minus 3. All right, if you type equals 0, it doesn't do anything for you. Okay, I already know. So get rid of the 0. I know I want to know when does it cross this. When does it cross this line? Okay? So let's turn it to a table and we'll plot what we can. All right? So we need to know at -2 is 5. I can't actually plot that. At -1 is 0. -1, 0, that's right here. At 0 goes with -3. Right? 0 goes with -3. At 1 goes with -4. He has a special name. Maybe you remember him from the last units. And then the next value, we have 2 goes with -3. And then I'm going to type in at 3 and at 4. At 3 is 0. And then I also need to know what's happening at -3. And that's +12. So here's my graph, rough sketch. And I got two zeros. But I want to know where's the negative one. So here's the negative one, and there's the positive one. So all I really care about is -1, because that is the negative solution, right? Negative solution, and this would be the positive solution. But I want the negative solution. All right. Next problem, very similar. Get rid of that. Type in the new problem. X squared minus x minus 6. I don't need it to say equals 0. Turn it to a table. -2 goes with 0. -2 goes with 0. -1 goes with -4. -1 goes with -4. 0 goes with -6. 1 also goes with -6. 2 goes with -4. 3 goes with 0. And 4 goes with 6. And then I need to know what's happening at -3. And that's +6, so somewhere up there. All right, again, I want to know what is the positive solution for when it crosses this line. And the positive solution is this guy over here, and that is 3, 0, or 3. All right, thanks for watching. We'll check you next time.